What's up, everybody? Just doing an initial sound check. If you're in the chat, if you can let me know. I know there's 8 of you in here. If you are watching on your phone, guys, just below where the thumbs up and the thumbs down button is, I'm going to give myself a thumbs up actually right now. Where the thumbs up and the thumbs down button is, you can press live chat and you can communicate in the chat. You don't have to be on desktop. You can do that from your phone. If one of you guys could just hop in, let me know if the audio is good. If the audio is good, I'm ready to go. We can get going a little bit early. Thanks a lot, bud. Is this a little bit better? Is this, I just raised up the volume a little bit. Hey, what's up, C-Night? Good to see you again. Good to see you. Could stand to increase volume, though. Here's that increase. Let me know if that's a little bit better for the increase. Tad Low, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Trying to boost that up. Let me know if I did anything to make it a little bit better. How we doing, Thomas? How we doing, bud? Welcome, welcome, welcome. A little more. How's that? Is that a little bit better? That's pretty much to the max that I can go right there. How's that? Try it on your end. Try it on your end. See, I'm almost peaking in the red right now for me. Actually, let me see if I can do this. I could turn this up a little bit. How is that? Checking a little bit other things. I have a couple different knobs I can turn. Thank you guys so much for your feedback. Let me know if that's a little bit better in the chat. If that's good. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Dragon DEPR. C-Night, sounds good. All right, guys. We'll get going in just 1 second. Let me just wrap a couple things up here, turn on last couple lights, and then, like I said, we got 9 people in here. If you give me a thumbs up, if you give the video a thumbs up, that's going to shoot it out to more people. Let YouTube know that we are ready to rock. Thank you, Ryan, so much for the feedback. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Missed last week. I'm pumped to go live again tonight. F it, why? You guys don't need to listen to silly music. Let's just get back on here. Welcome back, guys. It's been a week off. I took off for Labor Day last week. The markets weren't open on Monday, and with the Jewish holiday as well, Rosh Hashanah was Tuesday and Thursday. So I had a couple of days off from school. I am not Jewish, so I was not celebrating. Happy holidays to all that were, and Yom Kippur coming up this week. But without having school, I did have a pretty good time last week. So what's on tap tonight? You know, the usual Bud Light, probably school night Bud Light. And then I got a couple White Claws over here too. You know, I like to switch back and forth. Hello from Colorado. Oh, man, I wish I was in Colorado right now. James, what's up, bud? So tonight we got 2 voicemails. We got a crypto Dogecoin question. And we also have an options question pretty much based on assignment of a covered call and when we should go cash secure put side, when we should just buy it back, when we should leave it, when we might want to do a leaps option instead. So those are going to be the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. As of always, you guys in the chat and watching at home are number 1. So if you have any questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask. Also, in other amazing news, I'll give you a sneak peek at this. I finally got my new monitor in, so I no longer have like a fuzzy monitor. We were dealing with some crappy monitor issues the last couple weeks, so I finally got my main monitor going, and that should help it. Somebody wasn't happy with it because we just dropped down to 9 viewers, but hey, it's all about, you know, who's here, not who we want to be here, right? Are there any questions from the chat? Like I said, if you are watching on your another question I can ask you in the chat. Is my voice delayed? Like, are my lips moving at a different speed than you're hearing? That's something that I've been trying to figure out, and like I have to set it on a milliseconds kind of. I don't know. So every week I'm just trying to like go back and forth. What's up, Don St. Clair? Carlos, what's up, buddy? North Carolina. Is that the show? I don't know. I was going to try and do like a rap song, but I think it was South Carolina. Which one's take your shirt off, spin around your head like a helicopter? That's North Carolina. Okay, good. So if audio synced up, thanks, Don. If the audio's all synced up, that's something I've been really trying to work on. It's all these different computers and monitors. Will we be expecting a market crash soon? Tomorrow morning. The markets are going to crash. I'm going to have a big 50% correction tomorrow morning. So I got all my cash on standby. I'm ready. And if I'm wrong, then we'll just plan for Tuesday. Yeah. Now, on the risk of sounding like a sarcastic asshole, I mean, we talk about this market crash all the time and housing and things like that. And JJ and I talk about it a bunch on the podcast. I know that like historical indicators would say that we're due. We're due for some sort of correction, some sort of crash. But in all the crashes we've ever had, there was a reason, a catalyst, something to make it crash. I personally, from what I see, besides other YouTubers, I don't really see any reason besides historical data that should suggest that we're going to have a crash or a correction. I personally don't see it, right? People are just being handed money. Nobody needs to go to work anymore. You could just get money. I know that the relief for unemployment has just changed a little bit, so that might change, but I don't see tech slowing down, right? I just don't, certain things that would cause a major correction. We've kind of handled the pandemic. Delta is a major concern for us as far as what's going to happen with that. But I think our economies and with vaccinations, I think we're prepared for that to lead to a correction. We have no real political elections coming up that might stir an election. We just got out of a major world conflict, which is still ongoing, but I think we're over. Like, the point that I'm trying to make as far as like, I don't see a reason. But then again, who the F am I? Right? I read the same news you read, but if you look at all of the big crashes, and this is what I've been focusing on when I answer that question, there has to be some sort of catalyst to make it drop. And just the fact that, quote, things are overvalued, the overvalued thing, it's hard to say too, because I think a lot of us we're trying to get used to this inflation that's going on right now as well. And I was saying this to my wife. She was like, "Oh, flights are so expensive." And I'm like, I think a $500 flight to LA, like that might be the new normal. I think a lot of us have to start to get used to new normals as far as pricing is concerned because of inflation, that jump that we had. So a lot of like the overvalued in the market. Now, there, no way, shape, or form am I saying the market isn't overvalued. But what I'm saying is I don't think that the market, quote, being overvalued is enough to make it correct or crash because it's a new market. Right? To say the market has to correct because it's so overvalued is like when, the early people, when I was in high school and they were teaching keyboarding, and my keyboarding teacher would tell me that I better learn the keyboard because one day all we're going to be doing is typing on the computer and typing on a keyboard. And I was like, bitch, shut up. What do you know about what's going to happen in 5 years? Sure enough, here we are. And I don't think the markets have caught up with how many new investors there are. I mean, take you and I, for example, right? We're regular investors. Do you have any reason to sell right now? I think in olden days, there was a lot more trading, a lot more this, a lot more that, a lot more things changing hands. But with ETFs and there's a lot more, in my opinion, right? For what it's worth, there's a lot more people buying and holding for a long period of time. Right? There's a lot of people that aren't looking to get in and out and look for the next big deal. Granted, are there opportunities like that in this market? Yeah. But I kind of tend to go with my gut on these things, and there's nothing for me that says I should sell. The other reason why I don't see a need to really sell is because with the internet, we're also learning ways to make money in bear and bull markets. Right? That all the old heads, what do they want to say? Oh, it's easy for you to say you've been dealing with a 20-year bull run. Okay, cool. But during that 20 years or a portion of that 20 years, I've been learning how to buy puts, sell puts, and make money in times when the market's down. So I'm not really too concerned with it. And while I'm in this bull run as well, I'm learning how to read books on real estate investing and hard money lending and things like that, and entrepreneurship and passive income. I don't think we really live and die so much by the markets like Wall Street of the 80s and even the 90s did. I think the overvalue comes from this flood of the market of investors, a flood of tech, a flood of money into our economy, good, bad, whatever. We're still printing money like it's going out of business. I don't know. I hope that answers your question. That was the long and short way of saying, like, who the hell knows, right? But I at least wanted to give some indicator. I didn't want to just say, like, I have no idea. We don't know in the markets what the market's going to do. That's at least like my beliefs on it. Look at like the trading volume, or look how many people own stocks, or young people. I'm sure, I don't know the statistics, so I might be talking out of my ass, but I think if you took a statistic of the amount of 21-year-olds that had a taxable brokerage account in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, the 2010s, and 2000, I bet you that number is exponential. The amount of 22-year-old people that are investing in a brokerage account. That has to play into some sort of, I don't know. All right, guys. If I go quiet, I'm just reading the chat. I would like to definitely keep up with the chat. So we got 18 people in here. Let's talk crypto. It's so hard for me to talk crypto on the main channel. One, because the algorithm hates it. B, because I don't feel like listening to all the spam. And this will probably make it to a clip on the main channel anyway, because it's actually a good question. When I listen to this question, I'm like, here we go. A Dogecoin question. But then, like, it sounded like this gentleman was slightly intelligent in his question as far as like his position with Dogecoin, how that happened, and what he's looking for the future. So if you're like anti-crypto, just listen to what it is. And I think that we can all come to a better conclusion at the end of this. And you can definitely get a better picture of my position on crypto, which I have mentioned and sprinkled here and there, that my goals with crypto have changed. So without giving like too much away, let's take a listen to this voicemail, and then we'll answer any questions. And as always, guys, if you have follow-ups or you want to give your insight inside the chat, thank you for being here. Throw that in here. And like I said, we're all in this conversation together, even though I'm a Bears fan and I scheduled a live stream during the Bears' first game. Hold on. Here's that voicemail. Oh, I have it muted. Stand by. I have it muted on your end. You know, it's on my 5th week. Let's try that again. Unmute this.
Bucks in, turn it into 3,400. I want to What's going on, Brad? Love what you do, brother. Got a quick question for you, my man. I got into Joe's joke when it was under a penny, put $100 in, turn it into 3,400. I want to move some of that out into some different assets. I want to continue to see that number grow. Obviously, personally, I still think there is some value in the Dogecoin. So I don't want to move a lot of it, 500, $1,000, see what I can do with that. Any advice would be great, man. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. We'll have to crack a beer about it.
You had me until you said, I still think there's some value in the Dogecoin. Let's bring up Dogecoin over here on Robinhood. And if you do not know, guys, when you buy cryptocurrency on Robinhood, you do not own that cryptocurrency. It does not belong to you. So please, guys, use something like Coinbase. If you're gonna dabble in the crypto, please use something like Coinbase. So one, he said he got into it as a joke when it was under a penny. Cool. I am not opposed to YOLOing money every once in a while if you can afford it at a very small percentage of your net worth, right? Like, for me to say that you shouldn't like be drinking with your buddies and everyone buys Dogecoin at a dollar or at a penny, that's like saying like you shouldn't go to the casino and on your way out throw $20 on black. Like, let's be realistic. We sometimes we spend money for entertainment value and entertainment purposes. And I think what he said here was that that's kind of where he is. He sounds like he had $100. People were joking about the Dogecoin. He dove into it. Great. Currently right now, and I'm not immune to it either, I have $38 in Dogecoin. I have 123 shares at an average cost of 40. So I'm bag holding pretty good. When was it 40? If we look, it was when was it 40 cents? I pretty much got it right, literally right at this top on June 2nd, okay? And like I said, it was fun and game for me. I think this was a $50. I put this in as $50. That's okay with me. All right. I'm not against that. Even my conservative index fund investing, I'm not opposed to taking some risks with money, especially when it comes for entertainment value. Right now, not doing so great. It's 25 cents. But for him, he's up still 25 on his money, which shows the volatility. He left his voicemail on Tuesday when I guess it was 34 or whatever it was. Let's see, the 1 week. So yeah, it was probably up around here when he left that message, and then boom, right after you made that call, sir, it dipped again. It's super volatile. Now we talk in terms of like, is it going to go to $1? If you don't know the differences, because when I was first learning about crypto, I thought they were all the same. This is not the same as something like Bitcoin. Dogecoin was created as a joke. They can keep putting it literally is a joke. And as long as you're treating it as a joke, as long as you're treating it as a fool's man's prophecy. What's a fool man's prophecy? When you buy something knowing that one day a fool is probably going to pay more than you did for it. And some people say that's all of crypto. I'm pretty sure like Bill Gates said that of all of crypto. I don't know if I believe that 100% when it comes to Bitcoin, but things like this is a joke. And there's many people out there that think it might go to $1. And the only reason they think it's going to go to $1 is because they think they can get on the hype train with it for that. Okay. Right now, he's up 25 times on his money if he got it at a penny. And he wants to get some out and put it someplace else because he wants it to grow. So maybe when I hear that, I think to myself, he wants it to grow. He's not too confident that this is going to go to that dollar route. I think let's first get the elephant out of the room. Get your $100 out. At least break even on the deal, right? Don't let it go to less than a penny or get delisted or something and lose your $100. Get your $100 out. I would probably take more personally, but I'm not going to like make personal decisions for you. I probably wouldn't if I had $3,400 in there, maybe I'd keep 500. I don't know. It's hard to say because I had a 10x, 15x return with Bitcoin. And I started to take some of that money out. Not because I don't believe in Bitcoin. It depends on your situation. I got my money out of crypto because I'm 40, I'm financially independent, and I don't need that volatility in my life. I really don't. I don't need that asymmetric bet. I don't need that 10x. I'd rather put it somewhere and not have to think about it. Right now, I'm at the financial stage of my personal finance journey where I don't want to think about my money. I don't like where like we used to switch to bonds when we get close to retirement. That's kind of what I'm doing. Like I don't need those volatile speculative things in my portfolio. I'm not against Bitcoin, but I started selling it off just because I'm getting old, and I'm doing pretty good with money. So maybe you're 21 years old, maybe you're 19, and you're like, I got 3,400. I only take 1,000. I'm going to ride this 2,500 out and see if it goes to $1. Cool, man. Do it. If you are going to take money out, here's kind of like the official statement that I'd have with what I would do with that money. Number one, consumer debts. People don't want to hear it, right? Paying off debt is like doing cardio. It sucks. But every single time you finish cardio, you feel better about it. If you have consumer debts, I'm probably going to say that's the first place I personally would put it. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Brad, you can go F yourself on that. I don't want to pay off my debts. I got a super low interest rate, or I make the monthly payments. I'd rather YOLO. Okay, cool. So let's skip that step. The next thing I would do is make sure that I have a open Roth IRA, assuming that you have some sort of earned income, and I would put it in my Roth IRA. I would open a Roth IRA account because a Roth IRA is not an investment. It's an investment vehicle. I would have a Roth IRA. Every single American who has earned income should have a Roth IRA, in my opinion. They are just too wonderfully wonderful to overlook. Okay. And if you have a high income, do something like that I do, the backdoor Roth, everybody should be doing that. So take it out of there, get it into a Roth IRA. What investments is Brad going to put it inside his Roth IRA? I'm going to do a broad-based index fund because that's what I do at my retirement. But maybe you don't want to do that. So find some stocks that you like. Look around the house. What do you buy a lot of? Put it in there. Let's move even further. Brad, I got my Roth IRA maxed out. Well, the next thing I would say is if you want to grow and you have a little bit of speculative, a little bit of YOLO in you, hell, jump in my Discord and learn how to trade some options and have some fun that way. Use the $1,500 and buy a Leaps option and trade some poor man's covered call, write some calls against it and learn that process. Use the money to invest in yourself because everyone in the Discord is doing pretty well. I think there's even some Discord members in the live tonight. They'll tell you like what we're doing in the Discord isn't rocket science, but it's a little speculative. Options are a little speculative. They are a little risky. So if you want to like skip all the conservative like boomer and you want to skip paying off debt or you're debt free and you want to skip the Roth IRA because you don't believe in retirement or you already have it maxed out, that's probably what I would do if I was going to play. My speculative investment right now is trading options. And I'm not talking like out of the money short-term calls that like I'm at the computer and I don't know what's going on, but calculated, intelligent, educated things that affect, my financial future. Take my investing philosophy as like boomer and really conservative and index funds, and I only own 9 stocks individually. Take that, bring it over to options. I have that same conservative mindset when it comes to trading options. That's really it. I mean, I wouldn't take Dogecoin. All right, let me add one more thing. If you went from $100 to $3,400, take your lady or your man out to a really nice dinner, or take yourself out to a really nice dinner too. Go spend $150 at a steakhouse that you've never, that you never would have paid for, because you kind of won the lotto a little bit. Dogecoin from a penny to 25 cents is a scratch off. It's a scratch off lotto ticket. It really is. So you can treat it as such. I'm also not against treating yourself. Every time JJ comes to New York, we go spend $500 at a steakhouse, because as we mentioned in that episode, you need experiences in your life too. So maybe you go out to a dinner, it becomes part of your Dogecoin story that we're telling our kids one day, and none of this shit even exists anymore, and it just becomes a funny story. I hope that helped give you some guidance. If you're in the chat, you can definitely add a follow-up. If not, DM me or something, or you said you want to crack a beer. I'm always down for that. All right? Thanks a lot, man. Getting back into the chat here. Gilly, what's up, buddy? Checking in for a couple. Dude, Gilly, you're rowing too much, man. Gilly loves to row. He's rowing for 3 hours during Average Money. Average Money, guys, Wednesday nights. I like the conversation. Maybe R19. Hey, Robin, age is just a number, they say, right? Age is just a number. Awesome, Don St. Clair. Thanks for the voicemail. Thanks for being the brave few that leave a voicemail. Because I know a bunch of you guys in here, you want to, but it's like weird. Or maybe I got one the other day, it was like 2 seconds and the person bailed. Maybe they lost connection or something. So I appreciate the voicemail, because this is something that like I generally do want to talk about more. I want to make a video about how I'm selling off Bitcoin and why. For the things that for the reasons that I spoke about. I want to do that. But as you've heard all the personal finance YouTubers whining and complaining about, we have to tread lightly right now with the algorithm. My channel does better when I don't post videos, which has kind of been like, but I do have new videos coming out. If you are a member of the main channel, I have I'm trying a couple things with my titles and my thumbnails. So I'm no, you're here. There's only a couple people here. I'm going to do a cash secure put video. I've been writing a lot of puts, and I need to explain people why and what I've learned in the 2 and change years since I stopped selling puts and then stopped doing the wheel and then went to Leaps options, poor man cover call, now back to the put. I definitely need to make a video about why I'm actually doing that. Let's go back to my big fan. 23, what's up? I think we got to 49 once, guys. If you're in the chat and you want to give the video a thumbs up, that would be great. Thanks for helping promote it. Jeremy, thanks for the question, bro. Yo, Brad, just started a small options portfolio, $5K to start. That's where I started. That's awesome. Any reason to save up for standard covered calls as opposed to the poor man's covered call? to maximize leverage? Okay. I'm going to answer it quickly, Jeremy, because that answer is also is going to be built into the next voicemail. Somebody asked a question very, very similar to that. I personally, there's going to be reasons why I wheel and reasons I don't. So my answer to your question is you save up for the wheel if you're going to be trading wheel type stocks. You're going to save up for leaps options and the poor man's covered call if you want to trade leaps type stocks. And the answer is to like, well, duh, Brad. Okay, but what are those stocks? If you have a couple minutes, Jeremy, that will be a part of the next voicemail. I'll get there. The short answer is I wheel with stocks that trade pretty flat and dividend stocks. I tend to leaps option and poor man covered call growth stocks or stocks that are going to be on a steady decline. That's the short answer, Jeremy, and I'll answer in a lot more detail when we get to this next voicemail. Have you ever written a poor man secured put? Okay, so generally when we talk about the poor man, I'm actually going to read that again tonight because this might be a good clip for the main channel. That's a very, very good question. C-Knight says, have you ever written a poor man's secured put? So I think I understand the question, and here's going to be the answer. Right now, we're talking about the poor man's covered call a lot. It's all over YouTube, leaps options all over YouTube, myself included. Buying long calls and then writing short calls against them, collecting premium on the short call, protecting the leaps option, pretty much adjusting the basis down on the long call. I believe what he's asking is, have I ever bought a put and then wrote puts against that? I have not done that yet. And this is a great point to make. And it's kind of like what I was talking about when we first got on the live. That would be a strategy when we are in a bear market, when things are declining over time. Currently, right now, that doesn't make sense as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, because the way I see it, I still believe things are going to go up in the long term with my leaps, right? We're going more than a year, sometimes even more if we can. So I'm thinking it's going to go up, it's going to go up, it's going to go up. I don't really love the idea of betting against companies. I can't say never. I bought a put on Nikola, when the truck company that wasn't really a truck company and everyone was hyping it, made a few bucks. But I haven't bought any puts because I don't really want to bet against companies. I think that's like, if you become public and you're a good company, like I don't really trade with stocks that, even if we look at my, let's take a look at my actual portfolio and see like what I'm trading, you'll get a better idea what I'm talking about. I don't really trade stocks that have, that don't have a really big track record, a really big history was what I mean. Let me see here. Let me just move this over. So if we see, and if you're on a phone and it's a little small, I apologize, but Hewlett Packard, Starbucks, Tattoo Chef is a little speculative, but they've been actually around for a little bit. Vuzi, although they're like new to the hype scene, they've been around for 20 years, I want to say. Pepsi, Waste Management, all these other companies, those are more stable, secure type companies that even I'm trading with. So with that type of company that I'm trading with, I don't see I'm not betting against any of them right now. So it's not that I'm against buying a put and then for those of you that know what's going on here and know what this is, like for a poor man's covered call, it's really just a debit spread, right? It's a diagonal debit spread. The thing that makes it diagonal is the expiration date and also the strike price, okay? So you can do a debit spread on the put side. That is allowed. It's just not common right now because the markets are up. We're in a bull market. But C-Knight, you will see more of those if we switch to a bear or if something happens to a company that starts to leak. To be honest, I thought that might happen with AT&T. And I wish I would have known what would have happened at Disney with them like cutting everything. Obviously Disney's bounced back. I've done Leap's options with them, but they had a pretty good run there where they were going down, 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 down. I thought that was going to happen with AT&T when they announced that they were going to be cutting dividends and things like that. But to be honest, it looked like just a big sell-off like I did. I sold off all my AT&T when they did that. So it didn't look like people were holding on and selling off over time, which is why I didn't make that move. But that was an example of a secure company that makes an announcement that I thought might drop that down over time. Thanks for the question, but I really appreciate it. Do you use the upgrade for M1 Finance Plus? So let me bring M1 Finance up, just so it's a little bit more relevant as I show that. And also, too, because I always want to be full disclosure. I don't want to make anybody believe that I'm just saying stuff. That's not who I am. So here's my M1 Finance. As you can see up at the top, yes, I have M1. I have M1 Plus, but I got it for free. I'm not sponsored by them. It was just a promotion that they gave. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was. I guess I signed up at the right time. To be honest, I don't really remember why I got it. I really don't. But I do have M1 Finance Plus. I think. So what does that give me? It allows me to have 2 trading windows. So if you're new to M1 Finance, it's pretty much robo. It's set in, forget it. And that's what I love about it. So it's not something you make your buys and your sells, and then it happens one time during the day. If you have the M Plus, it also gives you a 3 p.m. option. You cannot do the 9 and the 3. So if you miss the 9:30 trading window, you can do the 3. And that's the thing I've taken advantage of the most. Also, too, if we want to go into all my holdings, I told you I only own about 9 stocks. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I apologize. I own 11 stocks, most of which is VTI or VOO right now and VUG. But the other thing is if you borrow money, I think you get it at 2%, which is really, really interesting to me, but it is a variable rate. So, I mean, I'm not sure about how stoked I'd be on that. I am kind of interested in their cashback credit card. If they follow through with that, I'm on a waiting list for that. But I think it's expensive. Does somebody say in the chat what it is? No plus a free year for free. Then it's $125 after. Oh, so maybe they gave me the year for free, but then I guess after that, membership details. Let's see what it says. Oh, so this is, I don't know what all this means. I got plus enrollment, promotion. Oh, you can't see. Hold on, I got to move my thing. Just so you don't think I just got it for free. You see, I got promotion. Okay, promotion. So I don't know, I got it for free. Auto renew on 7/7/21. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I don't see enough reason to pay for it now. I mean, I don't really see that much reason to pay for it. I mean, the second trading window is nice. If it stays 2%, that's nice too. But I don't think right now I would necessarily dive into paying for it. To be honest, I don't know. If you didn't get the promotion, if someone was like, Brad, what do you think? $125 a year worth it? I'd probably say no. I don't know. I'd probably say no. Could you consider that selling off though? I like to work with volatile markets. I like to work with volatile investments like my hair. If it grows fast, I like to take a little off top, keep it clean. Yeah, I'm not opposed to trimming it down. I mean, yes, it's selling off. When you sell investments, you can call it whatever you want, but it's selling it off. But there's no problem with trimming. I do that, if I buy a call and I got a couple contracts and it's doing well, I'll trim some off the top. That's not a big deal, but I mean, yeah, I still consider that selling it off. Bear market strategies compilation. That'd be a good podcast topic for sure. David, yeah, JJ and I, we kind of want to, it's hard. We don't want to feed into the I hate to like mention other YouTubers, so I won't. You know who I'm talking about. If you go on, you know who I'm talking about. But we don't want to feed into the narrative that like the stock market bubble is going to pop. The housing market is flipped upside down. The next big sell-off is coming. Like, we want to give intelligent ways to invest in that environment, but we don't want to add to the YouTube narrative. And I'm speaking for him a little bit, but that's at least the conversations that we've had. If there is a flip, or if things start to correct or things start to change, we're ready to make videos and podcast episodes and show people how to make money investing out, even outside options. You know, even outside options, you can make money in bear markets. Okay. Another great thing is, I mean, like, it's an option, but you know, right now with some value companies, and I'll show my portfolio in a little bit, you know, the cash secure put is an incredible way to make money on value stocks, on stocks that you think are a good value but maybe aren't huge growers, and ways to make money in a bear market. So yeah, no, that's definitely going to be coming. Do you use any intrinsic value calculator? Yes, it's the current price minus the strike price. That's it. That's intrinsic value is how much the option is in the money. So if you take the current share price and you subtract the strike price, that's the intrinsic value calculator. It's just subtracting two numbers. The extrinsic value calculator is something completely wacky, and to find the extrinsic value, I just take my intrinsic value, subtract it from the value premium. If I'm speaking French to you right now, I apologize. You can go back, check out a couple of videos, but start by finding intrinsic value, share price, minus strike price, and then take the difference between the value of the option minus the intrinsic value. That's where you get extrinsic value. Greg, thanks for the question on Tattoo Chef. Oh man, you guys have to understand, in my real life, I am like I'm a little bit of a ball buster. I like to talk a little bit of ish, and I also like wear my heart on my sleeve, and I like to tell it how it feels. I'll just say this. I know the big YouTubers, or I know the big YouTuber that believes heavily in Tattoo Chef. If you're asking about Tattoo Chef, I have a feeling you know who I'm talking about. I'll tell you this. I'm on his side or her side. Okay? I'm on that side. I also know there is a clan, a YouTube channel, that likes to go in and bash other YouTubers and bash the way people think and try and pick up girls by talking bad about their boyfriends, right? Instead of like talking about themselves and making themselves look good, they like to boost themselves by making other people look bad. And I know they made a video about Tattoo Chef as well. I'm not on their side when it comes to Tattoo Chef. Now, do I think Tattoo Chef is like the next greatest thing? No. Do I think it's maybe overvalued and the price doesn't necessarily represent the company currently, and you're paying for value, and the price currently right now, that future value may already be built into the price? Yes. Is there a little bit of me that invests in the company just for personal reasons and gut instinct because I believe in the plant-based food movement and I want to see them do well? Yes. These are all things that are true about Tattoo Chef. But I don't think they're the garbage that some people want to say. And even with Jeremy, I said I'm on his side. Even with what Jeremy says, is that a little bit like too much? The only reason I won't say no is because I have not done nearly the amount of research that he does. People think he's like pumping and dumping. And like, first off, Jeremy from Financial Education, he has a huge, huge following, but he's not pumping and dumping stock. He doesn't have that kind of volume. And really, I don't know that many other YouTubers of that size that are really pushing Tattoo Chef. I can't call Jeremy wrong. I only know what I hear from him, and I agree with a lot of things he says. And I'm not going to I never disagree with people that did more research than me. That's how you sound like an idiot, right? And that's what those other guys did when they tried to come at Jeremy, right? That must have been fun for him to make that rebuttal because they spoke out of pocket without doing their research, and they made themselves look like idiots. So those are my thoughts on Tattoo Chef. Thank you very much for the question. I promise we are going to get to the options voicemail in just a second. I told Jeremy to wait for the answer, but I promise we will get to that in just a second. Hola, Brett. ¿Cómo estás? Thank you, Greg, for reminding people to smash that like button. I don't know that second channel, though. Okay. Like I said, I'm not that guy. I don't make myself look better by making other people look bad. So I'm not. You can Google it. You can find out who came at Jeremy. I'm sure you can go. Jeremy did the rebuttal video. Go check it out. Go look at. I mean, it's hard because what he makes. I feel like a Tattoo Chef video every day. So it might be hard to find that one. Greg says, I appreciate the researchers YouTubers do for me. A lot of them do great research. A lot of them do. I think, and I've mentioned this even in my own videos, oh, thank you so much, Queen Eve, for subscribing. You can now comment in 1 minute. I mention this all the time. Our goal as presenters here on YouTube is pretty much to just let you know what we're doing, and then you can like come along for the ride on your own terms. Like, granted, we have to say things like, this is for finance, this is for personal use and education purposes only. Like, yeah, okay, cool. But I follow through with that in the Discord. Like, I never really tell people to invest in a stock, or I never tell people what's good, bad, indifferent, you know? And even with Jeremy, with all that research that he's doing, that still shouldn't tell you that you should buy it. That should just put you in a position where you agree or disagree. And it should put you in a position that gives you something to read at lunch, right? Maybe you saw Jeremy's video, or you saw one of my videos about Tattoo Chef. This happened a lot with me with Vuzi. Inside the Discord, right? Aaron Azevedo got everyone on Vuzi early. I got on the hype train with Vuzi very, very early. And, you know, there's people in the Discord and people in other places that were saying that I was pushing Vuzi and telling people to buy it. Like, that's not the case, right? And when Aaron was pushing it in the Discord, that just said, oh, this Vuzi company, that gives me something to read at lunch. He did a lot of the research for me and I was able to ask him questions about it. And that's what we are as YouTubers. Not every YouTuber answers comments like I do, but if you get in there and you ask me an honest question, and you're not asking me, you know, what to do or how to do it, and you're just like asking me genuinely questions that you'll get education. Like, I always try and answer questions in the comment section that you could take that answer and you can incorporate it to a bigger situation. Like, you could take that answer with you, as opposed to like, yo, I got this thing expiring on Friday. What do I do? I kind of just breeze over those questions. And that's the research that YouTubers should be doing for you, right? They should be bringing to your eyes and bringing to your mind stocks that maybe you might not have ever heard of, right? I think it's pretty safe to say that if you don't watch YouTube, you don't know what Tattoo Chef is. If you're not in my Discord, I would say 90% of the people that come into my Discord probably never heard of Vuzi before. You know, but for a lot of people, especially the ones that have been around since December in my Discord, we've been talking about Vuzi, and those people are winning, even with its correction. I'm looking at my Vuzi calls right now, and just like I said, I'm full disclosure. I'm looking at my Vuzi calls right now, and I'm still up 87% from December 18th, right? I'll take that. You know, who wouldn't be up 87%? Well, we're here. Let's check it out. HPQ, that one I opened like last week. I'm up 12% on that. Starbucks up 23%. Guys, this is the beauty of the Leaps option. It's all long term. Tattoo Chef, currently it says I'm down, but here's the beauty of the poor man's covered call. I've written so many calls against that Leaps that I will win with Tattoo Chef. I think my basis now is somewhere around $11 or $12. Waste Management is up 37%. This Vuzi put, I have a put for Vuzi because I'll take more of those at $10, and I personally don't think it's going to get down to $11.77. We shall see. That one's going to be interessante. And then my Pepsi call is up 44%. And then my sells. This is actually a good point that I can make. If we look, let me move my face out of the way. Because somebody did ask me this in Discord the other day. So right now, I have a strict rule that I like to close options at 75% if I'm doing the wheel, I like to close my calls at 40% if doing poor man's covered call. Well, Vuzi is part of the poor man's covered call, and as you can see, it's currently up 96%. Brad, why the hell have you not closed this option? One, my basis is so low on Vuzi, like almost nothing, that I can play around a little bit. The other thing is that Vuzi is one of those 5-cent increment stocks. So when I got a credit of $34, right now it's sitting at a value of 2. I can't place a limit order for 2. So this 96% is really a little skewed. The lowest limit I could set is $5, which changed my percentage a lot. Sometimes I'll do that because that still drops it into a pretty good 70% range. The other reason is that I don't really have much faith in Vuzi like jumping like it was doing a couple months ago when it was jumping all over the place. So I think I'm pretty safe. I'm like rolling the dice a little bit with that $15 strike price. So that's the reason that when somebody asks me why I didn't close it, that's why I didn't close it. What's up, Mark? No, I'm not really into leverage ETF or counter plays. Guys, I'm going to go grab a beer real quick. I'll be right back. Be right back, I promise. Back. All right. Back. Got myself a good old blue can here. I need another beer because I know we're going into this voicemail. And it's an options voicemail. And when options questions come up, it seems to go pretty crazy. Cheers. Oh, Bud Light's gross, Brad. Number 2 selling beer in the world. Only lagers survive. Want to open a brewery? Only lagers survive. Luciano, thank you for the question, bud. Would you use a wheel strategy to manage a larger 6-figure or 7-figure accounts? Options liquidity. So I don't know what you mean by the options liquidity. Maybe you can follow up with that. But would I use the wheel strategy in 6 or 7-figure accounts? Yeah, why not? I mean, scalable. I don't do it with because it's not scalable for me at my size. Like right now, I'm trading with 13 grand or so, which is a comfortable amount for me. Like I can lose 13 grand tomorrow and it would just sting. It wouldn't my kids would still eat. But the reasons that we've talked about why I don't do more than 13 grand because the question I get, so let's see where it's at. Before I even click it, I'll just bring you over. My 1 year currently right now, past year is 106.75. So for those of you that have been around, you know that in Robinhood, I only trade options. I don't have stocks and I have this little bit of Dogecoin. Okay. So that means in the last 365 days, I'm up 106% on options. Okay, some of them are open, right? But I've closed a bunch. We've done videos about this. All time, 415%. And I believe this started with $2,500. So wherever that question was before where someone said, I'm looking to start with $5,000, I started with $2,500. Okay? Now, every single time I make a video about that, the number one question people ask me is, why are you only doing this with $12,000? Why? If you're making 106% returns, Brad, why the hell are you only doing this with $12,000? My answer, very, very simply, to get 106% required A, a really awesome bull market, B, a little bit of luck on my part, C, a ton of due diligence and research. So right now I'm wheeling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7 stocks. I mean, I'm not wheeling. I mean, poor man's covered call. Like, guys, I don't just, like, it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And to be honest, if I had a bigger account, that to me would magnify the amount of work I needed to do to keep that track record going. So if I had, say, $100,000, yeah, could I get 100% return like I just did? Maybe. I'm gonna just say no, so I don't sound like I'm arrogant, but like maybe I could, right? Possible and probable. It's possible. Is it probable? I don't know. But I do know this. The one thing I do know is how much work I'd have to put in and how much stress that would put on my life. Guys, I do not trade options for income. I trade options as a hobby because it's fun for me, because I only like sports because it gives me a reason to have a beer during the day. Like, that needs to be very, very clear that with almost $1 million net worth and 13 grand of that being in options, that's how much tolerance I have for it. So could you do it with 6 or 7? Yeah. One day, maybe when I'm a multimillionaire, will I throw 100 grand in? Yeah. Do I want 100 grand in Robinhood? No, not at all. But I get that question all the time. Oh, you're up 106%. If you were really up 106%, you wouldn't be doing this with 13 grand. Why not? In the last year, I made $6,700. You're going to step over that? Is that not good enough for you? That's dope for me. I'll take $6,700 all day long. I don't need to have 130 grand in here and make 60 grand with this. My returns from VTI and everything else will be just fine. And my small businesses and my teaching job will be just fine. I hope you do, because that would be awesome. Luciano, if you're doing it, go for it. Let me see if you followed up. Options liquidity. I'm not sure what you really meant by that, but obviously the only real thing I know about options liquidity is that you want to trade options that have a lot of liquidity. Just thinking if the options chain would absorb a larger number of contracts and open interests. No. I mean, you mean like right now I'm buying one Leaps option. If you had a multi-million-dollar account and you're trying to write 100 contracts, yes, that would definitely affect options liquidity. It definitely would. It would definitely. I mean, you would be changing the market. I mean, not changing the. You can't change the market. Well, I guess you could. Some guy did it in the UK, but the market makers have to be there for you, and there's only a certain amount of contracts that are open, right? Like you mentioned, open interest and volume and things like that. So yeah, I guess you could get to the point where you start to push the levels of open interest and volume. So I hope that answered your question, man. Thank you so much for it. How'd you trade and be prepared for a 10 to 15% correction? We talked about that for about 20 minutes when I started the live stream. I'm just going to do the opposite of what I'm doing now. You can definitely go back. This will be open for replay. Literally, we started with that. So you can check that out again for those of you that have been here. I don't want to make them have to listen to that speech again. Speaking of beer, you have any news you'd like to share? No news. No news about beer. No, but I know what you're poking at. We'll find out in 2 weeks if there's any news about beer. If you're going to start trading options with 15 to 3K, what do you look for in a stock? It depends on the options you want to trade. Every sport has a different ball. Every option has a different stock. So it really depends, right? And I'm definitely going to be talking about stocks that I think about for the wheel and stocks I think about for Leaps options in a couple of minutes when we get to this voicemail, as soon as I am done going through these questions. Tried my first sour this weekend in a local microbrew. Not a fan. It was a raspberry vanilla sour bread. I will say I do talk so much about sours, how they are amazing. But you do have to get them at the right time, at the right place. So if you're trying sours, to try a few. Not from the same brewery. Like, try a few before you make your overall, like, final position on that. Starting with $20 is good. You want to put 200 grand in Robinhood. Nope. No problem. I understand, Brad, for me to buy one share of a company many times For me, I buy one share of a company many times because I don't want to stress out. Trading, investing needs to be enjoyable, not stressful. Absolutely. I tell people all the time, if you go to bed worried about a certain position, this is any asset. This is not just stocks. It's not just options. Could be real estate. It could be your gold position. If you go to sleep stressed about an investment, there's a pretty good chance you're over leveraged in that position. If you're going to sleep concerned about your real estate properties, you probably have too many or the wrong ones. If you're going to sleep worried about crypto, you have too much in crypto. If you're going to sleep worried about what your options plays are going to do tomorrow, you probably have too much in options. I sleep like a baby. Are there stressful times? Yes. But that is a great point. It needs not be stressful at all. If I had $1 million, I would just sell puts. Greg, I'm not far off from you, bud. I'm really not. And a lot of the super wealthy that I know, that's mostly where their money's going right now, selling puts. Like, I mean, my puts right now with like Intel, Cisco. I just made one with Carnival Cruise Lines. Man, what? I can't show it to you guys because it's between JJ and I and out of privacy for him. I don't want to, but let me tell you what I got it at. I'm just logging into my Fidelity account. Hold on. I just don't want to say numbers that are like incorrect. Carnival Cruise, I got March 18th is the expiration. March 18th, 2022. It's a $20 put. I got $190 for it. So what is that? 10%. So almost a 20% annualized return. Hell, and $20 is a good price in my opinion for Carnival. That's not what it's trading for, but that's a good price in my opinion. If I had $1 million, I would have bought 20 contracts. Intel, I have a 52.50 put and a $55 put on Intel, both expiring January 2021. Both of those are currently in the green, doing well for me. I would have loved to get more. I have like this one hair here. I would have loved to be able to write multiple ones of those. That's true. If I'm multimillionaire and I have enough real estate and I'm good, yeah, puts don't suck, man. And that's kind of the video that's coming out this week on my main channel. Puts don't suck. I used to think that they were just not cool, but I'm starting to love them more and more. As soon as I got my mind away from I'm tying up so much money in collateral, because I was like trained to say that when I heard other people saying that. And then I thought about it and I'm like, you're not tying up any money in collateral any different than if you would have bought stocks. So I'm learning to love the put, and you will see that inside this week's video on the main channel. But yeah, I love puts. Love them, love them, love them, love them. Let's see what we got here. Can anybody tell me the Chicago Bears score in the chat? If you could tell me the Chicago Bears score, that would be sick. Hold on, they're coming in fast and furious. If you could YOLO a stock or crypto right now, what would it be? It would be a stock. It wouldn't be crypto. Like if somebody gave me money and said I had to put it, well, this is hard because we all have different definitions of YOLO. Are you asking me if I had $1 million and could only put it in one stock, what stock would it be? Or would it have to be like a small cap stock? Because those are two completely different things. Because if I had $1 million, my favorite stock, as some of you know and some of you don't know, is Pepsi. So if I had to put one in anything, maybe Pepsi, Disney. I don't. Small cap though. Small cap. I don't know. That would be tough. It'd be tough for me if I had to just choose one. Never really thought that much. I have an Upma and Vanguard. Yes. I love hearing stuff like that. I'm not even going to read the rest yet. I just want to tell you how much I love when I hear people say that they have Upmas for their kids. Right? I just love it. If you don't know, that's a fancy word for I have a custodial brokerage account for my kid. If you don't own a small business, then you can't open a Roth IRA for them because they're not earning income as children. Utmost the way to go. If you do have a small business, start paying your kids, open them a Roth IRA. But now what's the rest say? For my 8-year-old daughter in VTI and QYLD. Mark, I love it. I love it. So in my daughter's and my son's account, I have I'm trying to think what Avery has. There are definitely foundations in VTI. I want to say that I have like, and this sucks about Vanguard. They don't have fractional shares yet. Just makes my freaking blood boil that I didn't do this. Don't even get me started. But they'll have it soon. But I have maybe like, I think I have their thing set up where it's like 75% of their portfolio is VTI. And then Avery has Disney because she loves Disney, and she has Tattoo Chef because she's plant-based. My son Brody, same, about 75% is in VTI. And then he has Nike and Caterpillar. His first word was ball. He loves balls. And Caterpillar, every time he sees the cat trucks, he goes nuts. Both of my kids are inside Roth IRAs, so because they both work for my business. But we're getting to the later stages of the year. You have to pay your kids a reasonable wage. So UPMA is definitely in the future for them because I've pretty much gotten to the point where I can't tell the IRS that a 2-year-old made more than $500 this year. So UPMA is definitely in the future for them. I'll say this quick and I'll say it fast. I'm very, very against 529s. So don't really want to. If you want to know why I'm not into 529s, you can leave me a voicemail. Sours, try again. Exactly. I'm 99% in crypto. I wake up with sweaty nightmares. Depending on when you got in, you're good. You should have been able to hedge a little bit off of that, you know? How do you determine a price that you want to pay for a stock? So everyone uses a bunch of different indicators. I tend to look at just general things. First and foremost, I'll show you what I use. And I'm not like plugging it. You guys asked, so I'll tell you. I use Rover as far as like to do my stock research. They have many, many different plans. I use their research reports as really my go-to. So like, let's take for example, Vuzi. So when I click Vuzi and you click here, research reports, it's going to put up in a separate screen. Hold on, let me bring it over here. So it brings up in real time, right? This is September 12th, 2021, and it gives you everything you need to know. Okay. And there's a free trial of this, guys. I think there's a link actually in this description. If you want to try it, like you're looking for something, it is a paid service. I'm full disclosure. It is a paid service, but for the research reports, I love it. As far as what I'm doing and what I'm looking at, the financials that I'm looking at, I pretty much don't have a way to come up with an exact price. I'm not that skilled yet, but I do have the skill set to know that it's overvalued or undervalued or a good value. And I kind of, in relation to what the current share price is, I want to go up and I want to go down. What are some things that I look at as far as like a stock being good? I'm from a debt-free world, so I definitely want them to be able to at least try and cover their debts. I want their assets to be a little bit more than their debts. I definitely don't want them shooting out shares and diluting themselves unless they really, really, really need to make money. I understand that sometimes they have to, but I'm looking for, I think that's like a little bit, that's one thing that's overlooked a little bit is dilution and, companies buying back stocks as opposed to issuing more shares. So I definitely look at that. I look at PE ratio a little bit, not too much, but like, for example, like if it's 26, we know that's high, but that's not too high for me. If it's like 50, I'm probably not going to go that route. So I definitely look at that. I definitely want to see income growing. I'm not a dividend investor, so I don't care about dividend or dividend growth. If I was, I would probably kind of look at that dividend growth. I definitely love free cash flow, right? Free cash flow is how they're paying out dividends and what they're doing. We definitely want to see free cash flow growing and going up over time. So the basic general cliche things that you're going to see that indicate if a company is doing well. Now, as far as share price, that's when you start to get into multiples of earnings and things like that. So I can go very general and get an idea and say like, I do not want to pay this multiple on my PE. I do not want to pay this kind of multiple on my revenue. I do not want to pay when their market cap is here. Like I don't see like what's a good example? They say like if Tesla goes up a certain amount, like its market cap would be certain things like that. That's kind of how I find good value. And also too, I mean, it's value investors are as wild on YouTube as growth and crypto. So you could find some really, really good value YouTube channels. Like I mentioned before, not to find stocks to buy, but to at least show you stocks that might be, and then you can go do your research using your own analytics. But me, kind of the general ones, right? And I'm not doing anything that's magical. And as we saw before, I only invest in 11 companies. So as far as options, I don't really care about the share price when it comes to my leaps options and things like that and all-time highs. I look at other things like implied volatility and where the Greeks are and what the break-even price is and how much the stock needs to move to get to that break-even, how much premiums are going to be if I want to write calls against those. Those are things that I tend to look at with options. It's a little different than like share price volume. For example, like I would never buy Tesla and like own a big share of Tesla. I think it's very overvalued, but Brad, they're not a car company, but they make all their revenue from selling cars. So one day when they're, quote, not a car company, maybe then they'll be worth the money they're at. That's like one example of that. Like I do not think, I kind of lost my train of thought. Hold on, I got to drink my beer. I just got into like how much Tesla makes me angry as far as people saying that they're not a car company. But if I was going to, I wouldn't buy shares with them, but if you gave me the money, I'd trade options with them. That's the point that I want to make with Tesla. So my criteria for what's valuable and what's a value stock and what's a good value and what's not, it depends. I don't really need to worry about that much because I don't buy individual stocks. I don't. I own 11, and the 11 that I own are just there, and once they're at long-term capital gains, I'll probably sell them off. I have index funds, and I trade options, right? So I don't have to really worry about the value of stocks too much. Where do the value stocks come in? That's puts, which will come in that put video. Like right now, I think it's a great time to be buying puts because things are overvalued. Then you can get pretty good premiums on puts and get stocks at the actual value that probably they should be at, you know. Thanks so much for the question. Brad will soon be a multimillionaire. Buy call leaps on Brad Strike. I will not be a multimillionaire for 2 more years. 2 more years. 10-0 Rams. Boo. 13 zip. Whoa. How do you feel about the future of gold, silver market as a hedge? Speaking in terms of actually owning coins. To be honest, I don't want to be like I'm against that. I honestly don't know enough about it. I've never done research on it. And I think it's one of those, gold and silver are one of those things to me where I can invest in things I know. I don't have to learn about gold and silver, and I don't really want to. I feel like as a hedge, I can hedge with other things. I can hedge with broad-based index. I think a broad-based index fund is just as good as a hedge as gold or silver would be. And I said, that's just with my little research with gold and silver. And if you want to be like, no, that's stocks, like I even think just bonds, like the bond index, Vanguard bond index, I would go that route, mostly because, like I said, I just don't know enough about it. So if I come on here and I'm like, no, don't do gold, I'd be talking out my ass. And I don't tend to do that. Just easier for me to be like, I don't know that much about it. And I hope you can appreciate that, I guess, or value that. Like if I don't know something, I'll flat out tell you I have no freaking idea. Do you wish they taught financial topics in schools? I wish more people didn't think that they didn't. I really do. Guys, personal finance is taught in school. It is taught in school. I promise you. But you want to know what else is taught in school? Physics. I teach it. And I'll tell you what. You want to know why kids don't grow up and start talking to their friends about physics? Because when you're 16, you don't give a shit. Or you're such a small minority, like, I mean, I'm in a pretty good district as far as money. My kids are very well off. I'm upper middle class. But I have everything from filling out a checkbook to investment clubs in my school. And I've taught in 3 high schools. Every one of those schools had a very, very big business department. But 16-year-olds do not give a shit about not having student loan debt. They do not care about saving money. And I'm talking about the majority of 16 and 17-year-olds, right? Is there that rare kid like the financial wolf Will who's got it figured out as far as, yes. Are they out there? Yeah, and those kids do well. And those are the kids that come to me and talk to me in class. They teach personal finance in schools. I promise you. I see it. I sit in. But telling a kid to save money or invest for the future and retirement at 16 is like trying to tell a 17-year-old girl that a 9 o'clock curfew is a good idea because nothing good happens after 10 p.m. If you've ever met a 17-year-old girl, you know how that conversation's going to go. So to be honest, I'm sorry if I sounded frustrated in my voice. It bothers the shit out of me when people say, and maybe it's just like my profession, like I'm a teacher, and for people to come out and say like that we're not, to me that's a slap in all teachers' faces. Like we're not intelligent enough to know as teachers that personal finance should probably be out there. You know? We just like skipped over that. I'm in school. I teach in high school 15 years, and I haven't mentioned to someone, we should really teach these kids about money. No. You know? I'll give you another great example. That's like us sitting around and being like, man, they should have taught me to stretch. Man, I'm 40 years old. I'm doing the run challenge with Average Money, man. 40 years old. I really got to stretch. Why didn't they teach me how to stretch in high school gym class? They taught you, but you were nimble and you couldn't be broken. And when the teacher said, okay, right over left, reach down, touch your toes, you said, yeah, I'll tell you where I could shove my toes. They teach personal finance in high school. Just like they tell you just like they teach you that you should stretch before and after you work out. Just like they tell you that you shouldn't, have unprotected sex. Just like they tell you that you shouldn't speed and you shouldn't drink before you're 21 years old and you shouldn't dabble in marijuana. There's a lot of things that they teach 16, 17-year-olds that don't really follow through, that don't really make it out past the high school doors. Mark, I do not pay down my mortgage. I'm not a mortgage payer downer. It's just not my style. I don't need to do that. One day, just not right now. Good for you, bud. No insult. I know you were asking On's question. I hope I cleared that up. Don't you ever ask that question again. No, I'm not insulted. And I did say I feel like it's a slap in the face. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's back to me wearing my heart on the sleeve, and I've been drinking beers all day, so I'm a little bit edgy. It's just that I take my teaching profession. I'm so passionate about it. I don't need to do it. I do it because I love it that freaking much. I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to get up and go to work tomorrow. And I don't know. Teachers just sometimes don't get a lot of credit. I challenge anybody that wants to make fun of like the teaching profession or what we're teaching in schools to go stand in front of 25, 18-year-olds that wish you would just drop dead and then try and entertain them and teach them something. Tall task, I promise. The only thing I was taught in school is how to write checks. Yeah, pay cash. Sorry, David. Sorry. No, Robin. See, now you're poking the bear. Don't you do it to me. Robin comes at me with dead snowball or avalanche. Man, I guess I'm showing my cards too much. Everybody knows the things that just drive me freaking bananas. That's snowball. 2019? Yeah. I mean, I knew what investing was. I didn't do it till I was 35. This beer is so good. I turned down the temperature on my refrigerator a little bit. You'd be surprised what 3 degrees will do to a beer. Probably had some crappy ones too. I feel like we've been on for a while. This is not a car company. If you really wanted to trigger me, you'd tell me that they were. All right. Adding machines are right. Actually, I'll tell you this. I don't know. I have a book back here. I'm going to wipe out. It's not that good. That's why you've never heard me talk about it on the channel. But this book was written by one of the personal finance teachers at my school, Tom Brella. Financially lit, right? So that just proves that at Syosset Central School Districts, we teach personal finance. Because Tom Brella, who's there, teaching in my school, he's a good dude. Really smart. The book is like a little it's not a bad book. It's just a little too textbooky for me. He wrote it like he wanted to give it to a college level class. I told him to his face. I was like, it's a little too textbook. When are you going to play guitar? Man, I play guitar a lot. That one? Maybe at the end. Maybe at the end. I just have like not stage fright. I just think I suck. It has nothing to do about me being scared to play publicly. I used to play a lot, and I was even in bands. But the crazy thing about when I was in bands and when I was younger, there was nobody taking videos. There was no videos. There was no phones. So I never knew that I sucked. I just thought I was dope. And then when like videos came around and like people started filming me at open mic nights and filming my shows, I was like, I suck. I think it was more like it takes a long time to get used to your voice. Like that was the hardest part about starting YouTube when I started editing, and I'm like, that's what my voice sounds like. Got over that pretty quickly, but that's how I feel about playing guitar. Maybe I'll play it, but I won't sing it. I won't sing anything. I don't know. I want to play this voicemail because we're at 1 hour 13 minutes. That's a lot for me. The Bears are losing, so we could say. Or maybe we could take a vote. Do you guys want me to just go live and do that voicemail tomorrow, or do you want me to just do it now? I mean, you guys are all here, but take it easy, Brett. Thank you so much for your time. Be there on Wednesday. So much more fun with JJ. JJ closed on his house yesterday, or 3 days ago now? Wednesday. JJ closed on his house. We have a bunch to talk about, and tomorrow's episode was supposed to be the wives for the 1 year anniversary, but with 4 tracks to edit the vocals and then mix, it was going to take me like 7 hours. So I called JJ. I'm like, sorry, bro. Wives are going to be next week. But we just passed 1 year average money. 1 year. Can't believe it. The average podcast lasts 6 episodes. So one a week is 6 weeks. We just made it 1 year, 80 episodes, and we have 11 filmed or 11 recorded. So we're definitely at least going to get to 100. All right, I want to play this voicemail because it's actually a really, really good question. All-nighter, let's go. Yeah, we'll get off the live stream when I have to go to work tomorrow. Let's play this voicemail quick. It's coming, I swear. Oh, here we go.
Hey, Brad. I just got a sign for a covered call I had. I could use the wheel strategy and buy a covered put to get the stock back, but is a leaps option just as a valid strategy and sell covered calls against it? When do you decide to use leaps versus covered puts? I reviewed your leaps video again and mulling about a decision. Thanks.
I love this question. I love it. And it ceases to amaze me like how I thought that I could think of every scenario. Right? That's what I'm going back and forth about when I try and make videos. I'm trying to like think of things that people would ask. And just when I think I know every type of question that can be asked, I get a question like this. An amazing question, and something that I've never really thought about. And we talked about it last week too. That question that I'd never heard before with the out of the money, which we now know, I misconstrued what that guy was saying, but it's just so amazing. So that's, guys, another reason why I'm asking you, please leave a voicemail, because a lot of the times you're helping me make content, you're helping me, scale out to many different people. And this is a great example. A very, very simple question, something that happens all the time with options, but something I never thought to do a video or really even talk about at all. So let's do that. To reiterate, he was doing the wheel strategy. So for those of you that are new to the wheel strategy, we're going to write calls. And then when we get assigned, we have to sell off our shares. Then we're going to write puts. And when we get assigned, we're going to have to buy those shares back. And it's pretty much a flip-flop. Sell 100 shares, buy 100 shares. Sell 100 shares, buy 100 shares. And during that whole time, you're collecting premium from the buyer of that options contract. And our hope is that we kind of buy and sell around the same cost basis, right? So even as the stock goes up, we get assigned on a call, we do the put. So he said, so he just got assigned. So the next step in the wheel after getting assigned on a covered call is now to make a cash secure put. Awesome. Okay. But he's saying, all right, Brad, I'm watching your videos and you don't really do that anymore, right? You're not really doing the wheel. You're into the leaps options. Instead of writing a put, should I buy a leaps option and get into the poor man's covered call? That's what I'm getting from the question. And here is my answer. And I once again, I love it. I mentioned earlier in this live stream, and I'll reiterate it again in case this makes it to a main channel clip, which it probably will. Every sport has a ball, and it has its own specific ball that's unique to that particular sport. I personally, and this might not be everyone's opinion, I personally believe that every option has a stock that is good for that particular option strategy. I personally believe some stocks are better for trading the wheel. Here's a couple of examples of the types of stocks. I can tell you the ones that I'm trading. I don't need to necessarily get into why, but I particularly like to trade the wheel strategy with stocks that trade pretty flat. Not a lot of movement. In my early days, it was things like AT&T, for example. Right now, I'm doing it a lot with value stocks, things like Intel, things like Cisco. These types of stocks that aren't going to move around that much make it much easier to stay close to that basis that I was saying, because we don't want to get assigned on a call and it shoots way up, because now the put that we sell has to be way up as well. So now we're spending more money to buy 100 shares back. The other way is a bag hold. If you're doing cash secure put and say you have a strike price at $20 and it dives to 10, that's a big jump. That's a 50% jump. Now you have to bag hold on that 50% jump. We don't want that. So I tend to only wheel stocks that trade pretty flat. The other types of stocks that I think that I want to do this with are dividend stocks, because when we buy options, we own options contract. We don't own the shares. So we do not get dividends when we buy a leaps option. When we do the poor man's covered call, we do not get dividends. Where when you're trading the wheel and you have 100 shares and you do a covered call and the ex-dividend goes by, you still own those shares. So you're going to get yourselves that dividend. On the cash secure put side, you don't own the shares, right? You own a contract that says that you might have to buy 100 shares later. You do not get dividends in that case. But if we put those two things together and we take blue chip dividend paying stocks, we find ourselves in an amazing position to trade the wheel strategy. We are going to have something that our basis kind of stays the same. Like what AT&T stayed at like $25 to $28 for like 5 years. Blue chip dividend stock. And every once in a while, we're going to get paid a dividend. If you don't want the call to come, just pay attention to the ex-dividend date and don't write a covered call during that time, right? So that you get to keep your dividends. So, Chris, I think there's that to look at. What kind of stock did you just get assigned on, right? Because if you do a leaps option with a blue chip steady stock, well, with that low volatility is going to come low options premium, and it might not be worth your time to write calls against it. You know, that leaps option, in a leaps option, when we buy options, we need that share price to go up, among other things, to raise the value of that option so that we can sell to close it later. If you buy a leaps option with AT&T, I just keep using that, like we're going pre-dividend cut AT&T. If you do that, it's not going to, we can do another stock, talk Intel, like that I have options with, or Hewlett-Packard. I have leaps because I think they can go up, but for Intel, like I don't think they're going to like grow that much, right? So I'm more likely to trade the wheel with them than I am a leaps option because I don't really have that much confidence that it's going to shoot up in the near future or even for a year, right? Because we're waiting for the bubble to pop, right? We're waiting for this big correction. And if you look at the stocks that I'm doing leaps options with, I kind of like thought about that. Like in a market correction, are people going to stop going to Starbucks? I still think that company's revenue is still going to continue to grow. I still think they might be okay. People are going to stop buying Pepsi and all the other conglomerates that Pepsi owns in a stock correction. I mean, they're not terribly overvalued. So think about what kind of stock you have. If you have yourself an assignment on a blue chip dividend flat paying stock, I probably would just write the put. And I'd also think about where the share price is in relation, because the closer to the share price, the better premiums we're going to get. And if you had like a $20 strike price and your call got assigned at like 30, well, you want to write your call at your assignment price, right? So if you go to write your call at your assignment price, the share price might be so far away that you're getting no options premium, right? So it's not really going to be worth it in that case. Then we try and get greedy and we start making things above our basis and things get a little bit ugly. So what the assignment price is something that you really need to think of. How close to our basis are. If you had a $30 strike price and it got assigned at like $30.50, write the put. If it's a weekly, what's next week? You know, get assigned, get those stocks back, whatever. If you did this with a stock that does have the possibility to grow and grow and grow, and it does have a little bit of volatility in the market, and it does have pretty nice options premiums when you click sell call in the options chain, and you think you can make a couple bucks back, and then you go back and you see the history of implied volatility, and you do all the things that you should be doing before you buy an option, buy a leaps option. If all of those things work out, then hell, go the leaps. Right? With the leaps option, we want things that probably don't pay dividend because, right, if we're going to own dividend stocks, we want to get dividends. Now, are there stocks that aren't, quote, dividend stocks? Yeah, well, for me, it's like over 3% I consider a dividend stock. Like Apple, do they pay dividend? Yes. Are they dividend stock? Not in my opinion. Right? So if you have one of these stocks that doesn't pay a dividend, that has the opportunity or the potential to grow, that's great. Because in our case, like you can go far enough in the money with your leaps option that maybe you only need 1% to 2% growth in the next year. If you think that's going to happen and you can get some pretty good covered calls against it, hell, go the leaps option. I personally trade the wheel with flat dividend paying trading stocks, or at least things that move so slow or steady that I can almost predict what's going to happen on a weekly basis, right? Because the wheel, I'm usually selling weeklies. So I don't have to worry about like long term. Like all you really need to worry about is Monday to Wednesday, right? Because for me, I'm going to be closing most of my options anyway by Wednesday. So I only need to, quote, worry about that stock for 3 days. Okay. I guess the last one, like, and then for the leaps options, once again, stocks that don't pay a dividend, stocks that are more likely to grow. And this could either be a tech stock or it could be a small cap stock that you think really can explode, because then you can really do yourself a bunch of favors if the stock does really, really well. Take, for example, my $5 calls with Vuzi. At one time, once upon a time, yes, shoulda, woulda, coulda, that share price was close to $30. And I think I was up like 3,000% on that option. Didn't sell. So right now I'm sitting at 87%. For that option, and it doesn't expire until January of 2023. Doesn't pay a dividend, has the opportunity to grow. With the poor man's covered call, you don't want it to grow too fast, because then managing that short call can be really annoying Really, really annoying. So leaps are great for these blue chip growers or these tech stock, these huge companies that you know is going to grow. They're going to grow. Even if we take a correction over the course of a year, 2 year, they're probably going to grow, right? There's a lot of probabilities and things like that, and anything can happen. That's the risk of any investment. But I think if I was going to give you advice, like I'd want to know some of those stocks, but I think you could take those with you, right? Look at the stock. Is it dividend flat, or is it going to grow steadily over time? Does it pay a dividend or not? And also, what is the premium that you have to pay? Like, what is that leverage if you go deep in the money to 0.75 delta or 0.8 delta? How much of a discount are you really getting on the 100 shares? Are you getting that 85 delta for 25% of what 100 shares would cost you? Shit, that sounds like a great deal to me, you know? Or maybe, and this is the last piece I'll give you with this particular situation, maybe you're new to options and you haven't really learned everything yet, right? I forget what I was reading, and I did not come up with this. I'm reiterating somebody, and it might come to me. But I do when I watch YouTube, I watch a lot of like self-reflection type of things and like self-help, and also a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. And we're talking about starting a business is like, there's many steps to this. Let's say there's 10 steps to starting a business, or 10 steps to getting to a really, really successful business. And most of the people do not start a business because they start their journey on step 2. And they look at step 2 through 10 and get overwhelmed, when in all actuality, all they needed to do was get step 1 done. For YouTube, it's take out your phone, hold it out in front of your face, and start recording yourself, and then post it on YouTube. That's step 1. But some people are like, I can't start a YouTube channel. I don't have a camera. I don't have lights. I don't have a microphone. I don't know how to edit. And boom, they never start a YouTube channel. I didn't know that shit when I started a YouTube channel. I don't know most of it now. The same holds true with options. If you are starting the wheel, and I see this, and this is a major flaw that I see in the Discord, right? We look at the end result. We look at my 106% return for the year. But what people fail to realize is that I've been doing this for 4 years. That before I ever bought a Leaps option, I traded the wheel for 3 years first. Now, when I was doing that, did I see people buying Leaps and buying options and doing grand things with it? Yeah. Did I want to get in on the action? Hell yeah. But I did have enough discipline with money to know that I wasn't ready. Maybe it's my background in education. I knew I wasn't ready. So maybe this is like the first time you've ever been assigned. And maybe you've never completed a full wheel where you went call to put, right? Maybe you're still learning. Then hell, it's time to continue. You got to keep learning, right? Go through a wheel. Go through a wheel. I made more money trading the wheel than I did with Leaps as far as like short term. Because the wheel, you can speed that process up. You can speed up your wheel. You can close and roll and get a bunch of different stocks. Granted, you could do this with the wheel, but with that Leaps option, we need things to happen. We need stocks to go up. So it's like I remember making videos that I was, making $250 a day, or, that I was making $3,000 a month. I can't make that video anymore because I don't have the put side of the wheel. Right now I make $1,500 instead of $3,000 because I only have the covered calls. And not only that, but I close them at a smaller percentage of profit than I did with the wheel. Right? With the wheel, I'm closing my options at 70%. With Leaps, I'm closing them at 40%. So I've switched my goal of money making to those Leaps options in long term, as opposed to the wheel and getting money on both sides, the call and the put. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're not ready for the Leaps option yet. And it's also, I think you can make more mistakes in the wheel. I think there's more favorable wheel stocks than there are Leap stocks and poor man's cover call stocks, in my opinion. I think it's harder to find, and this is just from personal experience, you can really do the wheel with any stock. You own 100 shares of a stock, you can trade the wheel with it. And you probably do okay. Really. Unless you have something like a huge, incredible amount of unrealized capital gains, you're probably going to be okay. But that's not true for the poor man's cover call and Leaps options. There's a much smaller pool. Now, with that much smaller pool and that more due diligence comes the potential for more profit. Yeah. But I hope that answers your question, Chris. I mean, it is a really good question. It's something that we have to think about, right? But just remember, whatever decision you make, it could change in a week, right? It could change in a weekly. That's it. You can have the same talk with yourself in 2 weeks, right? You get a sign on this put, get a sign on a call, and then boom, it's not even October, and we can be having the same exact conversation. And if you're new to trading options, in that 2 weeks, you can learn so much about the leaps option and the poor man covered call and be in a much better position to make the right move than you were currently today. Thank you so much for leaving me the voicemail, man. I appreciate it. Let's get 1 or 2 more questions here in the chat. Consumer staple ETF could be a good hedge for that reason. Absolutely. But to be honest, maybe I'm just so like expense ratio, like I'm just a savage when it comes to that. Like I refuse to pay like more than 0.06. And all of these like little sector ETFs, I mean, with the S&P 500, like that's 0.04 or whatever, 0.03. But if you go to any consumer staple ETF and look at their top 10 holdings, I guarantee like the top 3 are like 75% of that ETF. So just look at those top 3 and just buy those companies and not pay the expense ratio. And I kind of did that with VGT. I used to love VGT, the tech. But then I made that video. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so over leveraged. Like the difference in the top 10 holdings of VGT and VTI were the same pretty much, with the exception of like maybe 2. VGT was just more heavily weighted. So instead of having 5% in Apple and VGT, I really had 15 or 20% because in VGT, Apple was 15%. So all I really did was just over leverage myself in Apple by getting VGT, as opposed to being like, oh, I want some tech stocks. Let's take a look at the top 10 holdings in VGT and see how those differ from my VTI. And let's buy just those ones so we can get some diversification as far as weight is concerned. And that's probably how I would do the same thing with consumer staple if I wanted to hedge. I would go to that ETF. I would look at the top 10 holdings and I would see which of those weren't in VTI, which is my main bread and butter. And that's what I'd focus on if that's what I was going to do. Oh, you're talking about JJ pulling an all-nighter. He did not pull an all-nighter. He fell asleep. He did not make it to his boys' game. So I'm throwing him under the bus, but he had to get that house done. Beautiful house. He had to get the house done. And hey, as he talked about in his stories, shit happens in real estate. He got that all out of the way really quick, but we'll probably talk about it on Wednesday. We're looking at another property. We're actually going out of Missouri, and we're looking in Idaho Falls. Bryce, who was in that live, he has a couple contacts out there, and he's been sending us a couple things. So we might be going outside the KC area, which is kind of like where JJ has that team set up, which is why we were looking so much into KC. But now we're realizing that there's good property managers and good real estate agents all over the world. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that more on Wednesday when JJ's in the room. If you go far enough in the money, could you see the leaps actually working out to be worth exercising to start the wheel at a really low basis? Robin. I am never going to exercise an option early. I made the video about it. I mean, if intrinsic value shrunk to 0, which is pretty much borderline impossible before expiration. Now, would I exercise at expiration because I wanted the shares at that price? Yes. That's kind of where I'm at with Vuzi. Like in January 2023, if Vuzi's trading for $50, there's a good chance that after being committed to it for that long and it becoming like more of a buy and hold, I might exercise that option really, really close, and I might lose and set that extrinsic value on fire. I might do it to own it for $5 a share. I'll get 200 shares for $5 each if it's trading for 50. So I'm not saying I'll never exercise an option. I'll never exercise an option early. I have not yet found out, and if I'm wrong, people can let me know. I have not found out a reason why you would ever exercise an option early. How that could be financially beneficial to you. Because of extrinsic value. Just can't see it. Trust, it's so hard for me to find good leap stocks, especially with so much uncertainty. Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, if I can give some advice of like where I was going to, I looked for companies that I really that's it. I think that they'll continue to grow. Like, I'll flash it again in case you just came in the room. I don't know how long you've been here, but let's take a look at these. Like, it and I said this to my wife because she's like wants to learn about options. I might actually let her take my course. Well, not that I might let her take it. Like she might take my course and learn about options, but start with stuff that like like even though most would say like Vuzi is like it's not a meme, but it's like unknown. It's very known to me, very very known to me. But like Hewlett Packard, I don't think they're going away. Starbucks, they don't think they're going away. Pepsi, don't think they're going away. Garbage, people are always going to be throwing away shit. Like, that's really where I start. And if we think of other ones I've had in the past, AbbVie, Disney, Coca-Cola, I've had like a bunch in the past. That's really where I started. I started with companies that I really thought were going to keep up with the market. Because, I mean, we can't do it now because it's off hours, but like, let's see how close this actually is. Let me get this out of the way over here. So, like, take, for example, Pepsi or even Vuzi. Like, say you're like, Brad, I never heard of Vuzi until tonight. If we went out to, wow, they go out to 2024, man. Time is just flying. Let's go out to January 2024. Let's see what it says right now. Probably not a lot of liquidity out here, especially with Vuzi. Let's go to a stock with a little bit more liquidity. Let's go Waste Management. So, what was I going to say here? Oh, as far as good stocks. Right now, Waste Management is trading for 154.45. Now, rule number one, when you buy a stock, you should probably know what they do, right? Most people know generally what Waste Management does. It'd be a pleasant surprise to find out all the other awesome things that they do outside of just picking up garbage in dumpsters, right? So now if we go to my options, like my Leaps criteria, this right here is 0.78. Okay. So right now I could pay $3,070 and that will get me roughly the same equivalent as 78 shares. So at a share price of 154.45 times 78, it would cost me $12,000 to make that transaction. To buy 78 shares of Waste Management would cost me $12,000. Okay? I can do the same for $3,000 and have the same leverage as owning 78 shares. I mean, we can go farther. Like, that's just my initial criteria. Let's find one that's like a delta of 99. Sorry for my phone, like, is causing... that's 99. That's 0. So that means it has no liquidity. 0. So 98. So that's 99 shares. So if I want to buy 154.45 times times 100, I didn't need a calculator for that. Sorry. That's $15,445. You can get that for $8,400. But back up to like my 78, because going that far on the money would be silly. This right here is all that matters to me. And this is really all that needs to matter to you as well. Right now, if you were to that's 0.9. Let's go to, where's my 0.78? Okay. You just need, the only thing you need to ask yourself, does your due diligence tell you that between now and 2023, will Waste Management go up 4%? That's really it. Now you're like, Brad, that sounds too simple. Well, like I said, we had to get to this option sheet. We had to pick the stock. And could we have a correction tomorrow and go into a bear market for 6 years and it doesn't go up 4%? Absolutely. Will you be out $3,000 if that happens? Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. But if you buy 78 shares of it and the price goes down, you're going to be back holding it anyway. You're going to take that capital gains loss either way. Right? So once you buy that stock and you find out this delta, you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get $3,000 for, I have to pay $3,000 for this leverage. I'm not going to get any dividends because I don't own the shares, but I need the share price to go up 4% in the next 2 years, year and a half. That's kind of like the things that I think about, right? I wonder if they, let's see one of these options. What's this one? So currently right now, so I paid $2,900 for this. It's currently worth 35. At one time, at its peak, it was at 42. That's probably when implied volatility was high. It's probably earnings or something like that drove it up. And then this is the Ivy Crush right here. Okay, that's the Ivy Crush. And now it's going to start to recover up. But with the Ivy Crush, we kind of want a trend that's going to go like this. Whoop. Right? So next time, the Ivy is going to be over here, hopefully. Right? And then we'll have an Ivy Crush, and then it'll go up to here, like a yo-yo going upstairs. Right now, this, I know that I didn't get it for 91. Right now, the delta says 0.91. I know it because I don't go that low. It was probably 0.85 tops. But right now, where this thing has gone, and I'm paying 0 cents per day for theta, gamma's really, really low, so we're good. And implied volatility is really, really low. So I don't really need this. What's my break even? My break even is $114.10. What's it currently trading for? 119. So I've already broke even. Now, could this thing dip? Yeah, it could dip. But right now, the current average cost per share is $29. $29. Right? What is the share price? 119. My average cost per share is $29.10. Now, I had to pay a lot of money. I had to pay $2,900 for that. But that's the beauty of Leap's options in a nutshell. So I hope that gives you a little insight of how I'm picking these stocks and these good ones. So we got a lot of QLD talk here. All right. Everyone loves QQQ. Everyone. QQQ. I know the expense ratio is going to probably be the reason why I don't look at this thing. What's the expense ratio? Of course, Robinhood's not going to fucking tell me that. What's the expense ratio on QQQ? QQQ. Full screen. You guys probably know where it is. Come on, you finance. Technical comparison. I don't want comparison. Technicals. Wow. The chart doesn't look good. What the heck's going on with this thing? This is one of those guys I don't know much about QQQQ. I know people talk about QQQQQ all the time. But what happened this day? All right, guys. This beer is done. Hour 45 minutes. Thank you so much for being here. In the description, leave voicemails. I did two or three voicemails a couple weeks back. People have voicemails. Leave them. I'll hop on. The only day I'm not available is Wednesdays because I'm on with JJ. Okay? So I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much for the love. I'm loving the live channel. If there's no voicemails, I'll definitely be back next Sunday. Yep. And then the following Sunday, I'll be away. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys got some value and learned something. If you did, please just give the video a thumbs up. Help grow this channel, please. It's not going to be monetized for a very long time, so I just at least want to promote it. Thank you so much. And anything you need to know, guys, in the description. Hope you guys know I'm open book. I'm always here to help. All right, guys, get out. Love yourself. Love everybody around you. Well, you can hate some people, but definitely love yourself. Take it easy, guys.